Have you ever just felt that life has a certain rhythm to it? Like there's a current running just under the surface of things? Well, what if you could actually read that current? Today, we're going to look at numbers in a totally different way. Not to predict your future or slap a label on you, but to understand the actual living movement of life itself. And that right there, that's our starting point. Seriously, try to forget everything you might think you know about numerology. We're not hunting for some fixed, static meaning. We're looking at the raw, dynamic process of how things come into being, how they shift, and how they grow. It all starts with movement. Okay, so let's really dive into what this means. The core idea here is a massive shift in thinking. We're moving away from seeing numbers as some kind of static identity card and starting to see them as a GPS, one that shows you exactly where you are inside a living, breathing process. So think about it like this. On the left, you've got the old way, numbers that tell you who you are, like a fixed personality type. But look at the right. This new way tells you where you are. It's not an identity, it's a state of movement. It's about the journey. It's really the difference between a photograph and a movie. So the big question is, how do we actually read this movement? Well, this system gives us a code. Think of it like a universal map that suddenly makes the invisible flow of reality something you can see and understand. And it all starts with a very specific sequence. Okay, I know this probably looks like a random jumble of letters, and you can think of this as the deep underlying structure of the code. But honestly, what's really important for us is how this translates into a language we can actually work with. And here it is. This is the translation, the operational code we're going to be using. Now, this isn't just some random string of digits. You need to think of each number as an instruction, a command that activates a specific kind of movement within the flow. In this table, this is our legend for the map. It's our cheat sheet. It connects every number in that sequence to its core movement. So you can see the cycle kicks off with 0, which is silencing, and then it jumps to 2, which is extending. We're about to walk through this whole cycle, and this table right here is going to be our guide. All right. We have the code, we have the legend. So now let's actually take a walk through the 11 movements that make up one complete cycle of creation, expression, and, well, expansion. Every single process, every idea, every project you've ever had, it starts right here, in the 0 state of silencing. This is that moment before the beginning. It's a field of pure potential where literally anything is possible, precisely because nothing concrete has happened yet. So, out of that silence, the cycle kicks into gear. First, with the number 2, we get extending. That's the first reach outward from the quiet, searching for a direction. Then comes 9, rhythmizing. This is where a pattern, a beat, starts to emerge from the chaos. Next up is 5, attuning, which is all about adjusting your frequency and finding what really resonates with you. And all of that leads you right to 4, the opening, a critical threshold, a doorway you have to consciously decide to walk through. And once you step through that door, the number 7 starts linking things together, connecting ideas and resources that were separate before. Then 1 begins weaving those links into something tangible, giving it real form. 6 unifies all these individual pieces into a single working system. Then comes 3, the release. This is when you express what you've built internally out into the world. 8 is flow weaving, where that new creation learns to sustain itself. And finally, we come back to 0, but it's not silence anymore. Now it's radiating, sending that new, transformed energy back out into the field, bigger and brighter than before. Okay, so this whole cycle is a really beautiful model, but you might be thinking, how do I actually use this? How do you apply this map to your own life, right? That's the crucial point. This is probably the most important thing to get. It's a fundamental shift in how you ask questions. We're not trying to define things with a label anymore. We're trying to locate them within a process. And that change in approach, it changes everything. We are just so conditioned to ask this question about everything, aren't we? We see an event, we have a feeling, we face a challenge, and our first instinct is to try and nail down its fixed meaning. But what if, instead of asking that, we asked this? Instead of asking for a static definition, we ask for a dynamic location. Is this moment I'm in right now one of attuning, or is it releasing? Maybe it's weaving. Asking this kind of question, it gives you incredible context and it shows you the natural path forward. And the amazing part is you can apply this to almost anything. Think about a tough decision you're facing or a creative project where you feel totally stuck. By asking which movement is this in, you stop looking for a simple, easy answer.
Instead, you start to understand the energy of the moment, and you can see the very next step you need to take.
And here's a really practical cheat sheet just to make it even more concrete. This table connects each movement to a direct action. So if you realize you're in a 5 moment of attuning, your job is to align and calibrate. If you feel like you're at a 3, well, the flow is telling you it's time to express yourself. This makes the whole system something you can literally start using today.
So let's just zoom out for a second and look at the deepest point here. What does it really mean for us to be able to read movement itself?
Remember how the cycle starts at 0 and comes back to 0? Well, this quote explains that it's not a closed loop. You don't just end up back where you started. You return to that same field of potential, but you're in a new state. You're expanded, more complex, at a higher level. It's not a circle, it's a spiral.
And this, right here, this is the ultimate takeaway. The whole point of this system is to give you a tool to turn the invisible, sometimes chaotic currents of your life into a map that you can actually read. Flow stops being something that just happens to you and becomes something you can consciously navigate with.
Look, this code doesn't require any special permission. It reveals itself when you use it. So take a moment, a project, a decision you're dealing with right now. Look at the cycle. Where are you? The flow always has an answer. The only question left is, what are you going to ask it first?